Thank you so much, everyone, for joining with us today. I'm Satish Bhosle, Senior Technical Account Manager at AWS with 20 years of IT experience, primarily in analytics and AI. Been with AWS for the last 3 years and have been part of analytics and AI ML technical field competency team helping customers implement cost-effective solutions to improve productivity and efficiency. So today's agenda, what we'll cover is we will cover the basics of Amazon Nova Act, understand its code structure, explore some of the prompt best practices. I've also provided some resources so that later on, if you want to install Nova Act on your machines, all the resources are included. We'll go through it. And then we will go through Amazon Nova Act code, which we can use to automate Amazon QuickSight task. I will go through one or two examples, and then I'll show you where you can check the other code, because I do have a workshop which I published, which has all the other code too. We'll go through demo, and then we'll go through some of the resources. So Amazon Nova Act, right? It's a model for building agents that can reliably take actions in the web browsers. So some of the tasks, as mentioned on the deck, Amazon Nova agents can perform tasks like navigating websites, executing workflows on your behalf, and extracting specific information from web pages. One thing I want to highlight here is Amazon Nova Act is in research preview. So the product team is continuously working on new improvements. So whenever in the future, if you plan to use Nova Act, make sure you refer to the updated documentation. We have already provided the link for you so that later on you can have the link. So now the next section is the mode of operations, right? So depending on the user's requirement, Amazon Nova Act provides two modes. One is interactive mode, which is basically for development and testing, so that you can first see, okay, how exactly it works. Depending on that, you can come up with the efficient prompts. And the script mode is when it's basically ideal for scheduled tasks and automatic workflows. So once you know, okay, your script is working fine as intended, you have all the programming logic in, then you can use the script mode. I will show you both the modes in action today in the later sections. So another thing is, in this session, we'll cover the basic usage of Amazon Nova Act so that you can get a good idea of how exactly it works. And then depending on your business requirements and needs, you can incorporate more programming logic for complex workflows. So in this interactive mode, right? So if you see the first one, the main prerequisite for Nova Act is at least Python 3.10. Okay, this code, what it basically will do is it opens a browser and navigates to Amazon.com and then searches for coffee makers and selects the first result. So now the first statement here, what it does is it import Nova Act class from Nova Act module. This specific line of code, what it'll do is like it'll create an Amazon Nova Act instance configured to start at Amazon.com. And then this Nova.start will initiate the automated browser session. Once the browser session is open, then it'll search for a coffee maker and select the first result. So let me show you this. So if you see here, you see a Python 3.10. As I said, right, we need at least Python 3.10. So now, as I mentioned, I'll put the code here. Then we'll create an Amazon instance. Now we'll start the instance. So if you see here, right, we don't have to do anything. So it directly, once you started the instance, it directly went to amazon.com because we have mentioned the starting page. So now the next one is what we have to do is like we'll have to search for a. So if given coffee maker, so it'll search for the coffee maker and it will select the first result. So it'll do every once you are have the code, all of the prompts and all efficiently done, then it'll do all the tasks for you, whatever you intend to do. You saw it took the first and selected the first result. So then it'll close the browser. Okay. The script mode, right? In this mode, once you have the script ready, you can do the same thing. This code, what it'll do is like it'll perform the following actions, like it'll open the browser, search for the coffee makers, select the first result, and add the item to the cart. Okay, let me show you this too. So if you see here, I have this specific code, right, which is already written there. So to run this code, what I'll do is, so now this is the scripted mode. Earlier, what we saw was the interactive mode. And one thing to note here is really important is sometimes you might have, depending on the website, the UI, you might have done the prompts, did your programming logic. If there is a change in the website, then you need to accordingly change how exactly you want Nova Act to act on your behalf. So if you see here, right, it does it automatically. And down, if you see, it'll show you all the details, what exactly it is doing. So now, as an additional step in this, we have added a code to add it to the cart. So if you see here, it's been added to the cart. So this is your script mode. So now, if you have seen, let us go to the next section now. Okay. So for prompts, right, as you know, prompts are really crucial because it helps frame questions in a way that our AI models can better understand and process, leading to a more accurate, relevant, and useful responses. So some of the best practices which I found is, be very prescriptive in what you want the agent to do and provide step-by-step instructions instead of general requests like how I mentioned do's and don'ts over here. So, and if there are any complex tasks, break the task into smaller sequential commands rather than one large command. Okay, like I've shown over here, right? In this, always do that. So, and give instructions, okay, where if there is any hamburger menu, if there is any specific icon you want to click on, it'll go to that icon, click the details, and whatever you have mentioned in the code, it'll go and do it. Okay, so now this section I've included is because so that later on, as I mentioned, if you want to install this on your machines, here is the GitHub where you'll have all the details about the installation, the prerequisites, what are required, how you can code. There are different blocks you can use of code over there. One thing is very important over here is first, before you start with Nova Act, always get an API key because that you will need for authentication. Okay, because whenever you use NovaAct, you'll have to give the API key. This is really important. So here is the link where you can click on it and generate the key, and do save the key. So now, you know how Amazon Nova Act code works along with some of the prompt best practices, right? So now let us see how we can use Amazon Nova Act to automate some of the common Amazon QuickSight tasks. So I've kept this, as I mentioned, as I've kept it very simple so that you can understand step by step what needs to be done, how Amazon Nova Act works. And then once you understand the basic, you can add programming logic as per your business needs and requirements. As I mentioned, I'm a member of the Analytics TFC team. I've worked with many customers who use QuickSight. And what I've observed common is that each customer typically has many business units, each with unique reporting requirements. So then some of the frequent tasks, there are many other tasks too, but some of the frequent tasks which I see that each department will have different requirements depending on their use cases is the data set creation, creating analysis, dashboard publishing, then Q topic creation, which is a big thing because it's used in uh, Amazon Q, and then we do have data story creation, then we have folder creation, and then you can assign specific uh, folders or assets to specific folders. Say, for example, if a customer has 5 to 10 business units with different reporting requirements. Okay, so each unit creates their own data sources, analysis, dashboards, and topics as per their needs. Think of the time that each of the business units will be spending on this basic task. So for this type of task, it is really beneficial. We can have automated agents which can help us to save time, improve productivity and efficiency. So during today's session, so what we'll do is like we'll go through the code for Amazon QuickSight dataset creation. And then because also I'll show you a simple code to create Amazon Q topic in QuickSight. So for the S3 dataset creation, we'll go through step-by-step details of each line of code, and then I'll show you like how exactly it works. Okay, let me go through the next slide. So, okay, over here, I mean, first step, what I've done is like I've creating a logs directory, which is the basic. You might be doing it in all shell scripting, Python scripting, whatever you're doing. And then I'm just creating a directory over here, OS directory. And then, so the next step is like, which I've already taken you through, like creating an Amazon Nova Act instance. First importing the NovaAct class from NovaAct module, then creating a NovaAct instance to start at the QuickSight URL, and then start the browser. So after the browser, so what you can do is this is a code which you can use to accept username and password if you want to go that way, because this is the recommended way. But for in my workshop to make it simple and to keep it simple for demonstration purposes, I'll be using it directly. So you can use any way, but this is the recommended way you should use by using logic to it. Here comes the main part of it. Okay, so how you exactly create a data set. So normally when you log into QuickSight, there are a lot of tasks you do, right? You select data sets from the left hand side, select new data set, then you click on whatever. Say you want to, if you want to upload a file, you can click on that, or you can do Amazon S3. In my case, it'll be Amazon S3. So here, what you can do is once you understand all the basics of it, what you can do is like include programming logic to select the type of data source you need and then program the corresponding logic depending on your use cases. And then in this code, what we'll do is like we'll be typing whatever in the name section, the name of the data set. And as I'm creating the S3, I'll be entering the URL of the manifest file. And I'll be asking Nova Act to do the task for me, like clicking on connect, edit, preview, and publishing it. So this is the code. So what I'll do is I'll open my So if you see here, I have the same code over here. This is for the topic creation, which I'll go through it later. So what I'll do now is I will run this code. And you will see here whatever instructions you give, right? So that's why I said like your prompt engineering is really important here, depending on what you ask Nova Act to do. I'll give you some tips later on how normally I approached it when I started working on Amazon Nova Act and worked on a lot of use cases other than QuickSight too. So in this, like as you know, we do have to enter the Amazon QuickSight account name. Then you will have the username. Okay, and then once you log in, right, along with the password, once you log in, there are normally some pop-ups. So you can tell Nova Act to close any pop-ups if any comes up. Okay, it does that. And sometimes if you do not do it also, it will detect that and it will close the pop-ups and accordingly go ahead with the next tasks. Okay, just give me a minute. I just clicked on that. So that is the reason it took a wrong input. So, and I'll show you a video which is created um, of the same steps, how exactly it goes through the different steps. Let me show you that too. 1 minute. In the code, right, as I've showed you, I have a logic put in where it'll create the log files along with a dot webm file, which is the video where it shows how Amazon Nova Act goes step by step. This is the pop-up which I had mentioned, right? Sometimes it closes on its own. Um, but I put a logic, you can put a logic with whatever comes up, right? So this is, I wanted to show you all, but because I've already ran it before the workshop, and I'll show you the videos for the other tasks too, which I created. So here I mentioned, right, when you select a specific data source, once you understand the basics, you can go ahead and select the type of data source, etc., right? And another thing I mentioned was earlier on this QuickSight UI, instead of Amazon S3, it was S3. So earlier I used to use S3, but now in my code, I'm using S3. Just make sure whenever your internal websites or if you're working on any use cases or if anything changes on the website because you have given specific information, so it'll take that. So make a note of that and make the changes accordingly. So if you see here, right, you don't have to do anything. I just ran the script. It'll go depending, so that, see, just think of the amount of time you can save if you have so many business units, because sometimes some of the organizations, they do have what do you call that, admins, but they'll have to do the work for all the other business units. So now everything has been created, and if you see, it has already published it. So without manual interference, right? So that's the Nova Act agent working. So let me do one thing. Just give me a minute. I'll show you. So I'm just logging in to the QuickSight, and if you see here, just you can validate it. So if you see, I have not done anything. I just ran the script, and it created, Nova Act created on my behalf whatever information, depending on the information I gave. Okay, and if you see here, as I mentioned, right, over here, you'll have all the logs for each of the step which was done, and there will be a video. So it'll be a .webm file. So, and the file will look something, let me show you that. Yeah. So this was like, if you see here, right, it'll go through the step-by-step process. This is the video file which will be downloaded if you use the code which I'm using, and it'll show you all the steps, what it went through. Okay. So yeah, this is one of that. And the second is, I'll go through as, say, like if I mentioned, right, for the Q topic creation, right? So in this, what we can do is, like, the first code till the sign in will be the same. Okay. So then after that, so whenever, say, on QuickSight, if you are creating any topic, right, what are the things you do? Okay. There's a select top, you have a topics option from on the left hand side. Then once you click on that, it goes to the new topic. Then you have to give the test topic, name of the topic, etc., and the description. So here, depending on your requirement, you can put in programming logic to provide the name, etc. And then you can, the next step is click continue, and then what it does is, like, then you have to select a data set which needs to be part of the Q topic. So here also you can put programming logic to take the data set, whatever as per your business needs, and then create on it. So I'll show you this, which I created. So this is the video which I ran earlier, and what exactly it did. So if you use the code I mentioned, right, you'll be able to see the same thing. I mean, .webm video will be created, which you can just click and it'll open in your browser. So it's very simple. If you see, right, I just wanted to make sure you understand the basics, then understand the from best practices. And once you understand, it'll be easy, because the other stuff is really easy, because once I understood this, it was very easy for me to include all the Python, etc., the programming depending on my use cases. Okay. So yeah, if you want to see here, right, just take it ahead a bit. So if you see here, it clicked on the topics here. Yeah, this goes step by step. So it click the new topic, then it will enter the topic name on its own. Then you can provide whatever description. To keep it simple, I just use text topic. Yes, all the details are already there. So if you see here, after that, you need to select specific data sets which needs to be part of the Q topic. I wanted to select the SAS one, so it will select that one. If you want to select any other ones, you can provide the logic. So accordingly, we'll select and then it will click on create and the topic will be created.